getting to some really good arms in that Seattle Mariners bullpen. So that has certainly been a good sign for the Texas Rangers. And on the flip side of things, really well for the Rangers bullpen. Check this out, over their last 6 games, 18 2/3, just those 2 earned runs. And we put the run support average up there because it tells you and kind of tells that story as far as what is happening with all these come from behind wins. Roles have been solidified. That's been really important. We know the issues last year. The closer role, Kela has done an excellent job there, but the other guys getting the ball to Keone Kela have really gotten it done. And so a lot of good things happening right now with the Ranger bullpen. When you're not having the greatest of seasons, when your bullpen is struggling, that can make things a little bit more difficult, certainly a little bit more frustrating. But the bullpen, especially as of late, has been getting the job done.
Rangers tonight maybe hoping that they could get it done against the starting pitcher, Wade LeBlanc, and then just kind of coast in with a win tonight. We'll see if they can fashion that kind of a victory. The Rangers 24 and 34, our Southwest starting lineup. Delano DeShields leading it off in center field. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa at third base. Nomar Mazara in right. Then in the heart of the order, Adrian Beltre, the DH, bats cleanup. Profar short, Gallo in left. Then it's Odor, Chirinos, and Ronald Guzman at the bottom of the order.
And they'll be going up against the lefty, Wade LeBlanc. Started the season in the bullpen and has been in the rotation now for 5 straight starts. Here is the pitch arsenal for LeBlanc. 2-seam fastball 35% of the time. The changeup, so you got a lot of movement, a lot of balls fading away from the right-handers. You'll get the cutter as well. That's the pitch he'll use to try to stand those right-handers up. It is not a big fastball. Averages just 86 miles an hour. But when he's throwing that 2-seamer well, things go pretty well for Wade LeBlanc. Just a 204 batting average against that 2-seam fastball this year.
Okay, so LeBlanc has the start. DeShields leading it off. And of course, tonight the comeback of Adrian Beltre as the DH. Great to have him back. So we're set to go. And LeBlanc gets us started with a pitch off the plate for ball 1. I think it's our coolest night yet. Did I hear 57 degrees for a game time temperature?
You did.
1-1, the count on Delano.
So we had, what, 61 a couple of days? 64 yesterday?
63, I think,
63?
yesterday. Now 57. Roof open as Delano shoots it foul. 0-2 on DeShields.
And that was a little touch and go because they closed the roof during batting practice, and I didn't see any drizzles. We saw that the other day where there was some rain, a little bit of light rain that came down during BP. They closed the roof. It stayed closed, but they opened this one just before game time.
It looks lovely, and actually it feels pretty nice. There's really not much of a breeze at all tonight, and that's the other difference. We've had a little bit of moving air the last couple of evenings. It has added to the discomfort at times. 2-2, and it's a full count on DeShields. Delano 1 for 11 so far in this series, but with 4 walks, so he has gotten on base. The 3-2, fly ball, right side of the infield. Healy waiting for it, but it's D. Gordon back with the club and active today who makes the play.
Well, the Mariners defense this evening behind Wade LeBlanc. We'll start in the outfield. Denard Span, Heredia, Haniger. Pretty steady outfield that we have seen here. And then it's Kyle Seager, Gene Segura, D. Gordon, and Ryan Healy. Mike Zunino behind the plate tonight. And we mentioned D. Gordon just activated, all smiles. Excited to get an opportunity to catch a pop-up like a little kid, even though Ryan Healy probably should have caught that ball. D trying to make his case for why it was his. Falling on deaf ears with Ryan Healy.
Gordon had been sidelined the last couple of days on that concussion protocol. Did not go to the concussion disabled list. And there's a hard liner right to shortstop, and Segura right there in front of it, 2 away. So Kiner-Falefa retired, although really good contact there. It brings up Nomar Mazara.
Kind of interesting, I think, here for Isaiah with Adrian Beltre getting activated back in the lineup at a DH. What is going to happen to his playing time? Certainly we are going to see Adrian out at third base. Maybe not as much, but you wonder as a young player a little bit. Isaiah's done a really nice job here for the Rangers so far. There's Adrian. Kind of gets in the back of your mind a little bit if some of that playing time is going to disappear. He's been excellent so far.
Well, it's pretty clear that we're not going to see Beltre at third base in the regular way we've become accustomed to seeing it. But he is going to get starts down there, and that is going to cut into, you know, some of Kiner Falefa's time. Now, I don't know, maybe they'll find it, you know, another way to use him as well as Mazara takes a strike.
Do you think tough lefties certainly maybe would make sense if you feel like you want to give Rougned Odor the day off? Isaiah could certainly play second base.
Line drive out to right field by Mazara, so the Rangers have their first base runner of the night. Nomar is on, and here comes Adrian Beltre. Was placed on the 10-day disabled list earlier in the month, back on May 15th. Strained that left hamstring for a second time this year. It's a grade 1 strain. And it was the very same hamstring that had sidelined him earlier in the season. He missed from April 25th to May 7th. And then in the span of basically a week, found himself back on the DL. And you see where he is on the all-time hit chart, just one back of Hall of Famer Cap Anson.
It'll be fun to start counting those accolades again as Adrian Beltre makes his way not just up the all-time hit list, but all those other lists we see him and the great names that he's getting close to, the ones that he has passed. So it's always a fun part of having him back to talk about the history of the game a little bit. Even though he probably doesn't want to talk about it that much.
He never seems too eager to talk about his place and his accomplishments, but they are many and they are impressive. Mazara with a very small lead, and LeBlanc finds the strike zone 2-2. One of the things on the list for Beltre, not going to happen in this game today, but he needs 10 more hits to pass Ichiro Suzuki, and that would give him the most hits by a non-U.S. native. So, you know, he's already the all-time leader out of the Dominican, the only, I guess, player born outside the country with more hits than Adrian Beltre in the opposite dugout tonight. He won't be playing.
What's he doing in the opposite dugout?
That's less clear.
That's a little bit of a mystery. He was out. I saw Ichiro doing sprints today before the game. Where's he going?
Full count to Beltre.
Intriguing situation with Ichiro. In Uni, saw him in the dugout right before the start of the game. Batting gloves on. Well, maybe you could say, well, it's chilly. Maybe that's why. But it's a little uncomfortable, quite honestly. I don't know what to make of it.
To Beltre. Swings and misses strike 3. So Adrian strikes out. The inning is done. Wade LeBlanc gives up a hit. Rangers can't do anything with it. And now Mike Minor ready to go to work.
Minor. Here is that pitch arsenal, what we have seen so far this year. Four-seam fastball 44% of the time, and that pitch has averaged 92 miles an hour. You'll see the slider, the changeup, and that curveball as well for Mike Minor.
Goes right after Gordon with strike one. Minor 4 wins, 3 losses, and a .563 earned run average. Gordon bunts it, but foul, and the count 0-2. See the numbers for D. Gordon. This is his 4th start at second base this year. Previously served as their center fielder, but as many aware, Robinson Cano on the suspended list, as this one is outside. 1-2.
And I guess the question, right, they have to ask themselves, what would they rather have? D. Gordon play center and Gordon Beckham play second, or D. Gordon play second and Heredia play center? They've already made that decision.
This one out into left field and past a diving Gallo. And with Gordon's speed, who knows where he may stop. They throw up the stop sign at third, and he tiptoes in with a leadoff triple.
Oh, D. Gordon didn't hit it very hard, but he hit it in the right spot, as you see him slicing this ball away from Joey Gallo, who gave it everything he possibly had. And Joey was playing a little bit shallow as well, and so you knew as soon as he missed this ball was going to be at least a triple with the great speed of D. Gordon. So he's obviously feeling fine, and the Mariners certainly happy to have him back.
So Gordon at third, and just like that, the Mariners threatening. Gene Segura takes very high. Segura, .333 average. They're doing a really good job in their leadoff spot. You can see he's handled Minor fairly well in his career. 3 for 8 against him. 2-0. Yesterday, Segura had a double as part of his 2 for 4 night. Drove in a run. And Segura, little 5-game hitting streak going at the moment. That one just a bit wide. Ball 3. The Rangers got a base runner at the top of the first, but couldn't move him. Seattle starts the game with a triple by Gordon. 3-0 pitch, and Segura swinging, lofts it into shallow right field. Mazara has a good arm. He sets up. Gordon with good speed, headed to the plate. Here's a throw. And they call him safe. Wow, the throw beat him. The question is, did Gordon find a way around the tag? And of course, Jeff Bannister is going to say, hang on a second, because you know your internal clock says he was out.
What a tremendous throw by Nomar Mazara. It seemed like it was right on the money. Does a great job. Watch him here, getting behind the ball exactly the way that he is supposed to. The momentum going forward reaches Robinson Chirinos in the air, and the question becomes whether or not that left hand touched home plate before Chirinos got the elbow. The tag would look like it was on the elbow. Let's see it right here. There's the slide, and wow, how about that?
That is a phenomenal call by Gabe Morales, our plate umpire, and indeed, Jeff Bannister and the Rangers will not challenge it. A sac fly for Gene Segura.
Well, that's a really good call by Gabe Morales. Give him some credit, because I'm with you. I'm watching that live, and I'm thinking there's no way. That was a great throw by Nomar Mazara.
So Seattle leads 1-0, and here is Haniger.
And that's where the new rules changing things and not allowing the catcher to drop that knee or that leg in front of home plate. That's where you really start to see it show up a little bit. Because back in the day, you would have at least seen Robinson Chirinos block the plate with his leg. I kind of missed that a little bit, not just because of that play. And nobody wants to see those injuries where they're really bad ones, where a runner goes out of his way to hurt a catcher or try to hurt him or knock him, you know, off his feet when it's unnecessary. But I kind of missed that play a little bit where you're sticking that leg out, making it a little bit more difficult.
Haniger gets jammed to the count 1-2. Wow, that was That was something. Good slide by Gordon. Great throw by Mazzara.
It was interesting, too. I was watching D. Gordon as he was tagging up, and his body language almost looked like he wasn't going to go. He was actually off the bag, and what he did, which I haven't seen before, is he actually would go back to the bag as Nomar was catching the ball, almost as to use the base as a springboard, as opposed to just having your foot on the bag and then going once he catches the ball. He was actually like a quarter step off and was putting his foot down as Nomar was catching the ball and then pushing off the bag, almost like he was trying to create some momentum. It was kind of interesting to watch.
Oh, he is one of the quickest games, or rather player in the game. And you saw it with that one because he did not have a lot of time to get there.
See, we kind of went off and just kind of bounced to the bag a little bit, as opposed to what you usually see is a guy holding the bag. Listen, I'm unhappy he scored, but that was pretty.
There's a lot to be interested in and pleased with on that play from every angle. As Hanniger strikes out for the second out of the inning.
Good job by Mike Minor to bounce back here and get a good right-handed hitter out. That was the first pitch in the at-bat on which he threw away and paints his fastball right on the corner, and Hanniger can't catch up.
So a 2 gone, the base is empty. Here's Nelson Cruz.
So I thought this was a little bit interesting. Mike Minor back in the rotation, and what he has done so far this year, home road games. And you see that ERA for him up over 8. That is the highest road ERA in Major League Baseball right now. But surprising, if there's anything to the ballparks and getting comfortable. Certainly he's pitched at most of these places as a reliever last year for the Kansas City Royals, but the road has been a little bit of an issue.
Cruz puts a charge into this one. DeShields racing back, reaches up, and he makes the catch. So Delino, a couple of times in this series we've seen him track one back to the wall. Very nicely done. The inning is over. As we go to the second, the Mariners lead it 1-0. We get going here in the second inning. Jurickson Profar, TXU Energy power player to watch. Leading things off here against left-handers. When he's been hitting the baseball, he's been doing it with some power. 10 of the 14 hits against lefties for extra bases. 6 doubles, 3 triples, and a homer. He's really done a nice job this year from the right side of the plate. Lines this one to center field, but Heredia is there, 1 away.
He has done a good job, and LeBlanc actually kind of interesting. You look at his splits a little bit, slightly worse against lefties than righties, but we know that Jurickson Profar has been very good against lefties, better than expected so far this year. So See how many times he gets a shot at Wade LeBlanc tonight, who has not gone very deep in games. Generally, you'll see him, his starts, the 5 that he has made, have been between 4 and 6 innings each. So, third time through the order, probably not something we're going to see, or potentially not see this evening.
Gallo takes one off the plate for a ball. Joey, 15 home runs, 34 RBIs to go with that average of 205. Couple of hits yesterday, including a double, also walked. And lifts this one high in the air out to left field. Span with all kinds of time to get there. And there are 2 gone. We'll bring up Rougned Odor.
Well, it's been a good run for Rougned Odor. Check this out. Most RBIs versus the Mariners. Odor, 49 of them against the Mariners. When you start to look at the names of people that have driven in runs, look at these guys. Albert Pujols, Mike Trout, George Springer, of course, the great work that he has done with the Houston Astros. But Rougned Odor right there. That group, when you start looking, guys that are driving runs in against, does that go back to the beginning of
his
last
career.
year? Or his career?
Yeah. Since Roogie
he
came up, nobody has done more damage against Seattle than the Rangers' second baseman. Three for 9 in the series, as you just saw. And that big bases clearing double, drops a bunt down third base line, and it goes foul. Good one.
Yeah, it was, and it was a good call by Kyle Seager not to pick it up, but I thought had he picked it up, he might have had a chance. It was a pretty firm bunt, and what we have seen opposing defenses do is cheat a little bit, not give up nearly as much room on the left side of the infield, because Roogie has been showing his willingness to do this a little bit more. But a good read by Kyle Seager.
Yeah, we're seeing a handful of pretty decent bunt attempts per series right now, maybe 2 per series from Odor, whose average is at 212. Yesterday was used as a pinch hitter. He takes off the plate. That put it into just a very short 3-game hitting streak. But in starts now, his last 5 starts, multiple hits in 3 of his last 5 starts.
He's been swinging a good bat. I think we saw it kind of coming a little bit. Start to watch the quality of swings, the willingness to go the other way. Some hard outs from Odor.
Ball ripped but foul.
And those started turning into some hits here as of late. That big one that he had, that opposite field double. The bases loaded to clear the bases to give the Rangers that 3-run lead in the 9th inning a couple of games ago. That certainly was a big one. So Roogie, I gotta believe, is feeling pretty good about himself right now, where his swing is. The fact that he's using all fields a lot more than he was earlier this year.
Takes a little low, 2-2. So Odor batting 7th tonight. Rangers trail early, 1-0. You were talking about Wade LeBlanc and the fact that he has not gone very deep yet. Joined the rotation on May 3rd here in Seattle. Started the year in the bullpen. We're still stretching him out, but since joining the rotation, he's been very good. It's at the 9th lowest earned run average in all of Major League Baseball since converting back into a starter. A 1.71 ERA in his 5 starts.
Yeah, just a 2.14 batting average against the OPS, 5.51. That is well below league average, is 7.50. And when you compare it to what he was doing out of the pen, those numbers were a lot worse. But it makes sense. I mean, you could see, you look at the stuff, and that's something that's going to play in the rotation probably more than it would as a reliever.
Well, he gets Odor looking, and it's a quiet top of the second for the Rangers. 1-0 Seattle.
score 1-0, and we want to get the Rangers defense to you, which is delivered by DeMontron RV. Joey Gallo, Delano DeShields, and Nomar Mazara in that outfield. All of them got some action already. Isaiah Cunha-Falefa, Jurickson Profar, Rugen Odor, Ronald Guzman in the infield with Robinson Chirinos catching Mike Minor tonight behind the plate. It's a busy outfield in the first inning. Joey Gallo had a dive for that eventual triple. Saw good play by Nomar Mazara, the good throw home that D. Gordon was able to slide under that tag, and then Delano DeShields made a really nice play on that ball that was hit by Nelson Cruz to end the first inning.
A little high to Kyle Seager here, 1-1 the count. Seager starting things off for the Mariners in the second inning. It'll be Seager, Ryan Healy, and Guillermo Heredia. Seager has the average of just .226 coming into play. And that just strikes me as a little low for him. I think a number that when we check back later, let's say August or so, my guess is that number is going to be a good bit higher.
Well, he has been incredibly consistent over the course of his career as far as the batting average, usually in the 260s. He's going to give you 25 or so home runs. The power has been pretty consistent. So when you see him have a little bit of an off year, he had a little bit of an off year last year, but you do expect that those numbers will get back to what you're used to seeing.
He takes a walk to start this second inning. Time now for a word from our friends at Southwest Kia.
$250 down, $250 a month or less on select new Kias in stock only at southwestkia.com.
So Seager aboard, and here is Ryan Healy. Healy, you see 2 hits and 11 at-bats in this series, including and 0 for 5 yesterday with a couple of strikeouts. And Minor goes right after him with a fastball there for strike 1. A slow start to the year for Healy, but he went to the disabled list, sprained right ankle back in April, worked his way back, and since then really has been a lot more consistent and pretty decent at .276 average in the 32 games since coming back. 1-1 the count. Good power in Ryan Healy. They are, let's see, 55 games into the season now in Seattle. So right at about the 1/3 of the way through the season, puts him on track for roughly the same number of home runs last year, 25 home runs last year with Oakland. Of course, he also swung at just about everything that anyone threw up there last year. And he's been a little more patient this season. Last year he had 23 walks in 605 plate appearances. And he struck out 142 times.
Now, was that that probably wasn't even the least amount of walks, was it? There had to be a couple other guys in there. I got to look. Well, you said how many plate appearances?
605. And he had 23 walks. Ground ball, shortstop. Profar scoops it underhand second. Odor with the turn. In time. Double play. 6-4-3. Twin killing, and the bases are cleared.
That's good execution by Mike Minor, especially when he was behind in the count a little bit. You could really take advantage of dead pull hitters, and Ryan Healy is the guy who pulls a lot, especially against lefties. He likes the ball in the middle in, and so you get them, not that you intentionally fall behind, but you get them in that 2-1 count, and you know there's a good tendency for them to probably start to get a little bit big. You can locate something down and away, the way that Mike Minor did with that fastball. You give yourself a chance to get that ground ball.
Now Guillermo Heredia, and he shanks it over the right side, fouling out of play. Heredia, not a lot of power in that bat, but the .289 average, a nice one. His on-base percentage over .410 this year. He has done an excellent job in that regard.
And I think that's why you have seen the Mariners make that move that they have made. Bring D. Gordon in the infield. You find a way to get Heredia in the lineup a little bit more.
Bounces this one up the middle, and he has a base hit. Second hit of the night for the Mariners. So that gets Denard Span to the plate.
So Miner's done a good job against lefties so far this season. 226 coming in. He's only allowed the 1 home run. But Denard Span, on the other hand, has been very good against lefties this year with a 294 batting average for him this season against southpaws. Better against lefties than righties, where he's hit 221.
He takes the ball from Mike Minor. Span batting 8th for Seattle. Part of that 5-player trade last week with Tampa Bay. And he's one of the very well-respected veterans in baseball. 11 years in the big leagues, a lot of them with Minnesota and the Washington Nationals, but also spent a couple of years with the Giants. This year with Tampa Bay. And some of the guys on this Mariners team apparently were asked, you know, what do you think about getting Denard Span? Dee Gordon was really excited about that. And when they made the call, when Jerry DiPoto, the general manager here, reached out to the players involved in the trade to tell them the news, he didn't reach out to Denard Span. Dee Gordon did. Dee called him because he was just tickled to death that they were going to get Denard Span on the team. Said hello, gave him the news, and then handed the phone to Jerry DiPoto.
Come on.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fun.
He and Jerry kind of, because DiPoto apparently consulted with Dee Gordon about it. So what do you think about Denard Span? And Dee told him, if you can get him,
yeah,
that's a must get. So
fantastic.
Yeah, so there was a little bit of excitement there, and so DiPoto, he was like, well, that's cool. If you guys are that tight, then I'll let you make the call. Let him know.
That's fun. It's been a strange call for Denard Span, though. Hey, D, what's up, man? Hey, guess what? I just traded for you. Wait, what? You don't have that kind of pop.
Want to bet? 2-1 on Span.
But now, do you think that's interesting? So that was the first Denard Span heard of it before we heard from the Rays?
Yeah. Well, now that's a good question, right?
Yeah.
Do you hear from the Rays first? Do you hear from Seattle?
Usually your own team contacts you first. Maybe it was the first time he had heard from the Mariners, possibly. Either way, still very cool.
Of course, look at the scroll on the TV.
Yeah, nowadays.
Social media.
I mean, these guys, our insiders in this game are so good. They're like, I think Jerry DiPoto's thinking about trading for Denard Span. And next thing you know, it goes across.
So Heredia at first. 3-1 to count to Span. Toss over there. Heredia has stolen 1 base. It's also been caught twice. Minor wants him to stay close.
Are you wearing your bacon perfume again, or is somebody cooking bacon?
No, I think somebody's cooking.
Oh,
yeah.
goodness.
It does smell good, though.
So distracting.
3-1. Runner does go. Bouncer up the middle. That one hits Minor and caroms to the open hole at short. Heredia will advance to third base. Well, you talk about buzzard's luck. With Heredia running, Profar went to cover, and it opened up the perfect hole.
Yep, and if this ball didn't hit Mike Minor, it's going to be an easy out, but instead it deflects towards shortstop, and nothing you could do. You can't plan for this. That was part of the reason they were trying to figure out, who they wanted to cover. They decided it would be Jerks and Profar. And either way, I mean, it would have been a routine out, but there's nothing you can do about that. And some bad luck, unfortunately, for Mike Minor, but the double play was big and now looming really large, and hopefully he can get out of this by retiring Mike Zunino.
Nearly Aaron toss over there to first with Denard Span. And Span, who does like to run a little bit, so we'll see. He's off in the distance. You see Heredia taking his lead from third. Zunino pops this one foul back behind home plate and just below us. Zunino a 202 average. Yesterday had a good game. A couple of doubles, a walk. A 2 for 3 night for him. stands him up 1-1. Well, Zunino batting ninth. And the Mariners have made Minor work a little bit here in these first 2 innings. This will be the 37th pitch of the evening, and it's inside to make it 2-1.
See whether or not Denard's band will be on the move here. Mike Zunino's got to be thinking he's going to get a pitch to handle. Scott Service has got a decision to make. 4 stolen bases against Mike Minor this year. 4 for 6 are base runners. And then you got Denard's band, who's stolen 6 this year, but not on the move.
2-2 on Zunino. Minor needing 1 more strike to get through this second inning. Zunino, we told you the 202 average, 8 home runs. This is a guy coming off a career year last year with 23 home runs, a slugging percentage over 500. Runner goes from first, and that's fouled away. Not only fouled away, but it took better than 2/3 of the bat away from Zunino. There it is.
You don't see that too often, where the head of the bat and then some, and the handle, or most of it, ends up directly behind home plate. Wow. That guy gets to hold it. And he didn't seem too happy about the fact that he got some pine tar on his hands there when that bat was handed to him. I don't know if that's the authenticator or what's going on over there, but he took the bat and then just kind of stared at his hands. Like, oh, thanks for that gooey pine tar I get to have on my hands the rest of the night.
It's going to get there eventually. 2-2 and a swing and a miss. Strike 3. Second strikeout for Mike Minor tonight, and a good one. Gets him out of the second inning.
A couple of really big pitches here made by Mike Minor in this second inning, but to finish it off, he gets Mike Zunino to chase the high fastball.
Texas Chili Company Dollar Hot Dog Night. It's coming up Wednesday, June 6th. Rangers and A's, that's the ball game, but ballpark hot dogs for just $1 each. That's the game inside the game. Go to TexasRangers.com or call 972-RANGERS. See if you can beat CJ's record of 12 hot dogs in one game. Still holds. Is Robinson Chirinos. Takes strike 1. Chirinos, Ronald Guzman, and then back to the top of the order for Delano DeShields. Harvey's having a good series so far. Rolls this one down the third baseline. Seager with a high throw, but and plenty of time to get Chirinos one away.
Take a look at Kyle Seager, third baseman here. Does a really nice job for the Seattle Mariners and the easy backhand. But that throw, yeah, got away from him a little bit, but Ryan Healy had no problem bringing that one in.
No, although he was exposed there. Put at risk just a little bit. Anytime you stand right on the middle of the bag and stand in the middle of the baseline, dicey proposition for a first baseman as Guzman takes a strike. He'd know a little bit about that.
That would hit him right in the chest about that height.
Oh, that's true.
So interesting on LeBlanc for me is not overpowering. We've seen the fastball 86, 87 miles an hour. Average numbers against lefties 265 because he just doesn't use his curveball very much. So that makes sense that at least lefties are putting the ball in play a little bit more. But this is what throws me off a little bit. You start to dig in the numbers and you get a feel for what a guy might be. He's got a fly ball rate of 31%. That's 10% higher than the major league average. So not a ton of strikeouts, doesn't throw very hard, lets up a lot of fly balls. You would then think, well, of course, in some of those, got to be a pretty good amount of home runs. Not necessarily. Only 4 home runs allowed so far this year for Wade LeBlanc, just 1 to a left-handed hitter. And so what he's doing is he's keeping guys off balance, not overpowering them, and just getting a lot of high fly balls that aren't leaving the ballpark, which you wonder over the long term, could that last? He's been good through his first 5 starts as you try to project over time, and that's what all of the front offices are doing these days. Saying, is that going to continue to happen, that he'd have a higher than average fly ball rate with average, average stuff, just kind of a pitcher that pitches a little bit. We've seen guys do it. Marco Estrada's a good example of a guy that does it. Fly balls, doesn't overpower you a little bit. Good changeup. But I thought we would have seen, look at some of the numbers without looking at the home run numbers, that there would have been more home runs hit off of Wade LeBlanc, but he's done a good job of keeping the ball in the ballpark, even though hitters hit the ball in the air off him quite a bit and don't hit a lot of ground balls.
Yeah, it's good if you can get away with it. That one a little bit high, 3-2. And the reality is, and this was several years ago, I read a piece about, this was just when analytics were really starting to, edge their way in aggressively in major league front offices. The bottom line was that fly balls were 3 times, or deemed to be 3 times more dangerous than ground balls. Just statistically speaking, it's hard to hit a home run on a ground ball, and it's a lot easier to do when the ball's in the air. And that's why you see guys like LeBlanc, the stat you point out, that's what you're concerned about. If you're going to live on the fly ball, then it better be weak contact. You can't give up, the home runs. And to his credit, he's managed to keep it in the yard by and large as he walks Guzman here. And
that's the next thing you look at, right? We have exit velocity as a number that's available to us, and he's right at league average. And so maybe it is something that can hold for him. If you saw maybe a higher exit velocity and a lot of fly balls, but not the home runs yet, you would think that would catch up with him. It may very well work. I mean, he is the absolute definition of the crafty lefty. Uses it all, the 2-seam, the 4-seam, changeup, curveball, cutter. And the off-speed pitches have been pretty good, especially the cutter and the curveball.
A runner aboard. And Delano to Shields 0 for 1 with that pop out. Middle of the infield at double play depth. And he swings and misses at strike 2. I mentioned earlier that Delano had been getting on base, 4 walks in this series, despite the fact that hits haven't come as frequently for him. It's getting to be a pretty tough stretch for him now. 155 average in the last 22 games. So his batting average for the season when that stretch started was at 308. But he's dropped all the way down now to right about 220 for the year.
And I thought this was interesting. I know you saw this as well, but the conversation about Joey Gallo maybe seeing some time in center field with Adrian back if he's going to be DHing, well, that means Chu probably has to play the outfield a little bit more and trying to find that right balance. Now the Rangers have a good mix of lefty-righties, which could help that situation.
Well, the Shields down looking, 2 away.
Delino showing bunt with 2 strikes right there. And you were just mentioning some of the struggles, and he may have saw an opportunity. You don't see it too often with 2 strikes, but maybe for Delino trying to make something happen as he's going through this little bit of a rut right now. Look at this right there. Ended up pulling it back, and instead it was a called 3rd strike.
Well, here is Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. Isaiah hit a line drive in the 1st inning, but right at the shortstop, Gene Segura. Kiner-Falefa batting 2nd today. So that's the other thing with Beltre in the lineup, is it shifts guys around just a little bit. Kiner-Falefa in the 2-hole tonight. Profar drops to 5th in the order. Man at first, 2 out.
So that would be, I would imagine, say you get a tough right-hander. I wonder if we'll see this now with Adrian back, where, okay, maybe you want to give Delino the day off, or you want Chu and Mazzara and Adrian in the lineup, and it's a day that you don't want Adrian necessarily to play the field if he's going to DH. So Isaiah Kiner-Falefa would play 3rd, and potentially Joey could play center.
Ball down to 3rd. They'll go the short way to force out Guzman. Well, we'll hit on that a little bit when we come back. And scoreless 3rd inning. Mariners lead 1-0. Red Sox and Astros, certainly something you look forward to seeing potentially in the postseason this year. And here, a team, Seattle, that fancies themselves very much in the race out of the West Division. Dee Gordon, their leadoff man, goes to 1-1 here. He had the triple and has scored the game's only run. That was back in the 1st. Off the plate, 2 balls and a strike on Dee Gordon. First time we have seen him in this series. Of course, playing second base once again as he bounces this one in the hole. Shortstop Profar's throw in time, and they get Dee Gordon. What was it that went flying up in the air down there at first base?
I'm not exactly sure what that was.
Something of Gordon's, it looks like.
Yeah, maybe some accessory. They have quite a few these days. big leaguers, I don't know. But Jurickson Profar certainly made a nice play. We'll see it here. You know you have to hurry. D. Gordon stays in this ball. Good job by Jurickson to take it on that hop. Not an easy one. And I guess that was that his leg protector?
Let's
see. When you're that fast, what do we got? I didn't even see it. Did you see it? Slow motion, he was running so fast I couldn't even see it.
It was just about to happen there. There we go, right here. Ooh.
Oh, man. Off his left foot.
Fly ball out to right field. Mazzara goes back, and he'll have to take this one off the hop. Segura cruises to second base, and he is in there with a one-out double. Now 17th double of the year for Gene Segura. He's having a really nice year. And now he's in scoring position.
This guy's such a good hitter. Not a bad pitch from Mike Minor. Middle away on that 92-mile-an-hour fastball, but it's the approach that Gene Segura takes. And not just, hitting the ball to right field for a little base hit, but actually driving it with some authority as it short hopped the wall. An easy double.
So he's out there now for Mitch Haniger, who struck out in the first inning. He's 0 for 1. Minor moves to the inside corner and gets a piece of it there for strike one. Courtesy check of Segura. That one gets away, but Chirinos keeps it close enough. 1-1.
Fastball cut a little bit on Mike Minor. We have seen a handful of those tonight when he throws that four-seamer, and the velocity's been pretty good tonight. It's been averaging around 92 to 94 for the most part, but a little bit of cut that I don't think he was anticipating, and that's what happened on that pitch there.
Minor working with a little extra rest this time. 5 days rest. His 1-1 is tight.
It's kind of been a sweet spot. I don't know if you saw this or looked at those numbers at all. I happen to be looking at this. We didn't even talk about this beforehand. And I got it written down, buddy. 4 days rest for him. The ERA's been an even 6. Right, the average rest, that's 3 starts. 5 days rest, 2-0 with a 2.60. And they'd say, well, he's coming out of the rotation or coming out of the bullpen, so there's been days where he's had more than 5 days. Anytime that he's had 6 or more, his ERA's been over 8. Now, it's only 4 starts, 3 starts, and 3 starts for each group that we talked about, but I thought it was somewhat interesting that on 5 days rest, which would be if you had a 6-man rotation more often than not, those have been his best numbers by far so far this season.
If somebody would have told you that as a player, would you have cared? Or would you have said, that's nonsense, I'm fine, just...
Yeah, you know what, I don't know. I guess it all depends. You'd have to be honest with yourself and really talk about how you felt on those days. And be honest with how your evaluation was of how your games went, because there's some bad games in there where I felt like I threw the ball well. I felt like everything felt right, just didn't go my way, right? But I ended up letting up 5 runs somehow. I think these guys get it more. I think they understand the value of the data because they know that there's a lot of people really digging in, putting the time in these conversations and looking through this data, and so I think they value it more than if this was a decade or so ago.
A payoff pitch to Haniger, and he'll spoil it. I agree with that, and yet I feel like guys are largely dismissive when you ask them those questions, right?
Well, because they don't want to get painted into a corner, right? They don't want to all of a sudden they're accepting of the fact that on 4 days rest I'm not really good. They don't want to admit that. No. I haven't been good. It hasn't been great for me. 5 days I'm fantastic. 6 days been a little shaky. Like they don't want it, a little shaky. They don't want anybody to be able to think that they can't do anything or they're really bad in any kind of certain situation. They believe they can do it all.
Haniger tried to check his swing, bounces it down to Guzman. He'll take it himself. And they're 2 away. Segura, though, advances over to third. Well, thanks to T-Mobile, fans can receive a 20% discount on tickets in the all-you-can-eat seats in the home run porch on Fridays. And our next one's coming up June 8th when the Rangers host the Astros. Use the coupon code T-Mobile at TexasRangers.com/specials.
I think it falls in that same category. We talk about Adrian Beltre not wanting to talk about and Sinchu not wanting to talk about kind of their legacies, and because then they don't want any idea of like, oh well, they're kind of getting old now, they're slowing down, and the pitcher doesn't want to play, they can't pitch on 5 days rest.
Cruz pounds that ball out over the bullpen in left field. A 2-run homer for the Mariners DH. Makes it 3-0 Seattle.
Well, Nelson Cruz has got a 73% pull rate on first pitches, and he's looking to jump ship early, and Mike Minor was trying to go down and away. This pitch ended up being up and away and elevated enough for Nelson Cruz to get out in front of it and hook it out to left field. He's generally not great on fastballs away, but early on going out there and reaching out over the plate, he was able to get that one.
It's been a bit of a trouble spot for Mike Minor. This one popped up, foul territory, and will get well out of play. That's the 11th home run allowed by Minor this year in a little better than 55 innings pitched. So we were talking earlier about how Wade LeBlanc lives with a lot of fly ball outs and yet has not been hurt by home run balls. Minor has been hurt by the home run ball. 0-2 on Kyle Seager.
And Minor has the better ground ball rate, not by much, but it's been 40% this year. We're talking about Wade LeBlanc. His ground ball rate has been 36%, so a 4% advantage for Mike Minor, but the home runs have hurt him a little bit more this year.
Ball and 2 strikes on Seager, so it's a 3-0 deficit for Minor. Pitch count climbing on him a little bit. The 1-2.
Well, that's been an issue that Jeff Bannister actually brought up today, and I hadn't put much thought into it, but he had said at one point in the season that Rangers starters had thrown more pitches than anybody else, and you look at their pitches per inning for their starting rotation here with the Texas Rangers, they're tied for 26th. As far as the most, so I guess you can flip it the other way and say that they are 5th highest at 17.1 pitches per inning coming out of that starting rotation. Pitch count up right now here for Mike Minor. After you get through 3, you kind of like to be somewhere around 45 to just under 50.
Well, pop up by Seager out into shallow left field, and Gallo gets to this one. It ends the inning with a home run by Nelson Cruz. Means that the Rangers, they've been comeback kids. They're going to have to do it again tonight, trailing 3-0. By Buick. Visit your local Buick dealer. by LG OLED TV with AI ThinQ. And by Budweiser. Rangers fans, this Bud's for you. Well, Mazzara will lead things off here with the fourth inning for the Rangers, down 3-0. Nomar batting third, then Adrian Beltre and Jurickson Profar. Final game of this 4-game series in Seattle, then it's off to Anaheim. And that one is outside, 1-1.
So Nomar had that 2-out base hit back in the first inning. This would be an ideal time. Try to get him on base to kick this inning off as the Rangers want to change that momentum a little bit after the big 2-run home run by Nelson Cruz. We saw a lot of that yesterday in the game where there were some struggles going back and forth.
Well, a high fly ball out to center field, back to the wall, that is gone! Heredia ran out of room, and Mazzara gets the Rangers on the board with his 13th home run of the year.
Well, that's even better as far as changing the momentum and doing it with one swing. And Nomar Mazzara continues to have a really nice 2018, and the batting average and the power that he has shown off lefties continues as we get ready to finish up May. That was an off-speed pitch, but Nomar not fooled, stayed back long enough and drove this ball well into right center field. Any home run that you hit here in Safeco is a home run that is earned. I've always felt like this is one of the more fair parks in the game. Some will say even a hitter's park, but I'd say fair.
Well, yeah. In the early days, certainly a pitcher's park, but they moved in the fences in left field quite a bit. That's helped. Beltre hits this one high in the air, foul over the right side, out of play. We were talking last inning about where the Rangers may go defensively with Beltre now back and healthy, DHing tonight. And let's say against a tough right-hander, you want to get all your lefties in. Guys like Chu and Mazzara, Gallo, Odor. But you want Beltre in there too. And so there's a lot to think about for the skipper, and you were proposing some ideas, and Leslie McCaslin, she was down there with the skipper today too. He wasn't dismissing anything today, Leslie.
Creative is what he said, that they are lucky to have flexibility, but you guys mentioned it earlier. They could put Gallo out at center field. They said right now he is the backup center fielder. They could put all three lefties in outfield at the same time, or Chu even in left field. But they've got guys like Alberto, Kiner Falefa, they can move around. So guys, they do have a lot of options.
Yeah, I like the fact that he's keeping an open mind on this and thinking a little more outside the box. And you have guys like right now, you don't want Chu out of your lineup ever.
No. The way he's swinging the bat right now, I think, is what kind of caused this conversation, and for the Rangers to start to explore some ideas of what else they could do in the outfield when you want potentially an all left-handed hitting outfield. Chu, Mazzara, Joey Gallo. You get a really tough right-hander. We know that Delano struggled a little bit. Adrian's going to be in there regardless. I mean, he's going to be getting some days off, but you want him in that lineup against any pitcher. It doesn't matter. But there could be some days where that might be the right combination for the Rangers, and we may see it here soon.
Line drive out into left field for Beltre. So he is on in this fourth inning. And a historic hit for Adrian. That ties him with Cap Anson on the all-time hit list.
Take a look at there is that great Adrian Beltre swing. He keeps his head centered with his body throughout the swing. Not a lot of movement at all. Another good line drive base hit as he continues to move up.
You see it, 22nd all-time with Cap Anson. Next on the list, Ichiro. Profar. That's right-handed here against the lefty Wade LeBlanc, and he takes a strike. Jurickson flat out of the second inning. He's 0 for 1.
So we have seen now what we said. Nomar Mazzara hit home runs against lefties the last 2 years. It was just one in each season. And then this year, I believe that is number 6 for him on the year. So 8 home runs against lefties over the course of his career. It's the first time, not surprising, not a lot to deal with, small sample size, but the first time he's hit a left-on-left changeup for a home run, which is a pitch you just don't see very often. And so the fact that he was able to stay back and drive that thing out of the ballpark tells you all about his season.
Well, this one shot down the right field line and into the corner by Profar. Beltre into third base. He's being stopped. Profar was chugging around second, and he's got a return. The ball looked like it gave Haniger some trouble down there in the right field corner. Profar will have to settle for 2.
It's the second time we have seen Jurickson Profar do this, where he hits the ball hard down into the right field corner. We see Mitch Haniger kind of disappear, has some struggles. We saw him go behind that wall last night. That one took a little bit of a different hop, and I think under different circumstances, we probably would have seen Adrian Beltre waved around third and Jurickson Profar with a triple. We got to be a little careful. I got to believe there's some hesitation there with Adrian Beltre and the issues with him just coming off the DL. That's something that Tony Beasley certainly has to think about. That makes that a much more difficult call to make, but also nobody out right now and a starting pitcher who's struggling.
Yeah, and Banny used the word earlier this afternoon, right? He talked about just handling Beltre a little more conservatively this time, and that's exactly what you're doing there.
See Adrian right there going around second and being a little bit careful, a little bit cautious, because he's talked about not wanting to go back on the DL. He obviously was dissatisfied with the amount of time that he has missed, and it makes perfect sense that they're just going to be a little bit more cautious with Adrian Beltre.
A home run, a single, and a double to start this 4th inning against LeBlanc. Second time through the order. The Rangers making much better contact, and now here is Joey Gallo. LeBlanc got Gallo to fly out to left field first time up. Gets him out in front here, 0-1. Beltre third, Profar second base. It's a 3-1 game. Gallo holds off. Joey, we mentioned 2 for 4 yesterday, 3 for 8 in the series. And lately, he's just found a way to get on base with some pretty good regularity. Takes one down the middle. It's 1-2. Like 6 of his last 10 plate appearances, Gallo had reached 3 hits, 3 walks. So LeBlanc cruised through the first 3 innings. But wobbling a little bit here in the 4th. That's off the plate.
It's a good take by Joey. Now you see 87 miles an hour, and you would think, okay, well, it's not a hard fastball. You could see that all day long. But Joey's seen some off-speed pitches in this at bat as well, and try to slow the bat down. And so the fastball in that situation looks a lot harder than 87, and that one was just off the corner. That's a good take.
Big swing and a miss, and Gallo strikes out for the first out here in the 4th. That'll bring up Rougned Odor. Rugi went down looking back in the 2nd inning. Now LeBlanc, you pointed it out, hasn't gone very deep in games yet this year. Just his 6th start, his first 5 appearances this year were out of the bullpen. And it's his 2nd tour of duty with Seattle. He asked for his release from the Yankees at the end of March into spring training this year. They let him out. Seattle scooped him up. He was with the Mariners a couple of years ago here, 2016.
And he signed just a couple of days later, so you kind of wonder if there was maybe some conversations happening leading up to that, or just sensing an opportunity potentially in Seattle, and it certainly has worked out pretty well for Wade LeBlanc. It's an awkward swing from Rougned Odor there. I guess it was a cutter. It didn't have a lot of movement. It was 82 miles an hour. Looked like Rugi was having a hard time seeing that pitch.
No balls, 1 strike on Odor. And now LeBlanc breaks contact. Rugi kind of snuck up on us a little bit here today. It was kind of interesting. Hours before the game, we were going over some things. And I can't remember exactly how you posed it to me, but why am I double and triple taking when I look down at the stats and see Odor splits left and right-handed? But it was
well, I filled out my scorecard. I do left-right splits and runners in scoring position. He's hitting .321 against lefties. I said, wait, is that right? And I went back and I looked again. And I looked again. I said, yeah, Ruben Odor's put on a nice little run against lefties. Now he's 0 for 2 tonight after that pop-up. But this season, he's done a pretty good job against lefties.
Well, that little pop-up makes for 2 outs in the inning. Yeah, so a trend that we have been seeing. Rangers left-handed hitters making big strides against left-handed pitching. But now it's up to a right-handed hitter here against the lefty LeBlanc. Chirinos with Beltre at third, Profar at second base. So 2-run lead for Seattle. We're in the 4th inning when Rangers really want to cash in at least one of those potential runs out there. Chirinos takes low. He had both of them out there in scoring position with nobody out before the Gallo strikeout. Odor with a pop-up. Chirinos has had the hot bat lately. 3 for 5 yesterday. And he takes wide, 2-0.
A good count right now for Robinson Chirinos, 2-0. He's been really good on pitches up. He's been very good against the Seattle Mariners this year. You see the numbers through 6 games so far for Chirinos. Let's see whether or not Wade LeBlanc gives in a little bit if he tries to go to the fat part of the zone, or he tries to put that 2-seam fastball or maybe even that changeup down and away. But if he gives Robbie something middle to up, the way that he has been swinging the bat lately, he could do a little bit of damage.
Here's a 2-0. Oh. Well, he nibbled and he got the call.
Robinson did not like that call at all. These guys work so hard throughout at bats, and you know Robbie is thinking along with the pitcher. I mean, all hitters do it, and he knows that he's probably going to try to go away, down and away, and he's seeing that ball really well, and he believed it was off the plate. I think it was too, and you get pretty discouraged when you don't get that call.
That one not even close. 3-1. Guzman waiting on deck. There's Condor, who has been awfully adept at coming up with big RBIs for the Rangers. May he get an opportunity here in the 4th inning. Chirinos not afraid to accept a walk, and they have walked him a bunch in this series. This one misses, and that is ball 4. So they are now loaded for Guzman. Pitch count for LeBlanc closing in on 70. So here's Guzman. And look what he has done in the context of rookies in the American League. Only Gleyber Torres is driven in more than Guzman, who has 24 RBIs. Torres with 26 for the Yankees. Tyler Austin, Miguel Andujar with New York up on that list as well. And Shohei Ohtani, who we will see this weekend down in Anaheim.
Do you ever think you'd see the day where the Yankees would have 3 rookies doing some pretty big damage in their lineup?
So maybe, but not this year.
And they're contending.
Yeah, I wasn't anticipating it in 2018. Well, he could take the rookie RBI lead with a big swing here. He gave it a good effort, 1-1.
I really like Ronald Guzman hitting 9th. I know he's more than that, but the idea of having him in this spot near the bottom of the order, not that you're going to catch guys by surprise necessarily, but he is certainly capable of doing big damage. And the way that the lineup is set up tonight, and we've seen him bat 9th quite a bit this year, I really like him there.
Little roller, first base side, and that will result in the final out of the inning. Healy takes care of it himself. The Rangers will have to settle for the 1 run.
That was a big one, and it was Nomar Mazara who continues to do damage against left-handed pitching. This is the 6th home run he has hit against a lefty this year.
as we go to the bottom of the 4th inning. Final game of this series in our progressive upcoming schedule sends us off to Anaheim tomorrow night. And then an off day before short homestand, but really the beginning of a lot of home games for the Rangers in June and early July. Hope you'll come out and see us. All right, Mike Minor will go to work here in the 4th inning. He's given up 3 runs so far on 5 hits on his first 60 pitches. And now we begin the rest of the story. The first 60 pitches this year, look at that, 324 batting average against after 60 pitches. He's been really tough. The count 0-2 now on Ryan Healy.
Yeah, kind of hard to explain that when you think about him a year ago being a reliever, kind of laying it all out there in shorter outings, but he has been better as he has gotten deeper. So that's an encouraging sign when you think about Mike Minor returning to the rotation. His ability not just to get deep in games and get those pitch counts up, but what is the quality of what he is doing with the higher pitch counts, and it's been good so far this year. By the way, I did look it up. So Ryan Healy, you mentioned, with 23 walks for batters with at least 600 plate appearances. That was 4th least. Tim Anderson last year had 13 walks. 13.
Fly ball out to right field. Long run for Mazzara, but time to get there. 1 away. Yeah, that's right. Tim Anderson was brutal in that respect. Who else was on that list?
I have since taken that down. So I was looking up the pitches per innings pitched and also Nomar stuff. I mean, I can only open so many windows at once, but I can click back. Alcides Escobar had 15 walks. Brandon Phillips, 21.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's, what's also interesting about that for me, what happens in our game so often.
There's a bunt out in front of the plate, but I think that one might have hit Heredia. Yeah, he need that ball just a little bit, so he is out. And the putout will go to Chirinos, 2 unassisted. But Heredia, first of all, Heredia was like 5 steps out of the batter's box.
Yeah, this one I don't even think was remotely close. Well, it was a little bit closer, but his right foot was definitely in the air. He was completely out of the batter's box at that point. And that's not reviewable, if I'm not mistaken. Without looking at my list of what is and what is not reviewable, I don't think that is. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think it is either. But I think the call was that he hit it in play.
Oh,
because it bounced up onto his waist.
Do you think Scott Service was wondering if that was a foul ball?
Well, I don't know what Service. He was probably just asking for the actual ruling. Would be my guess. Why is he out? Because he did 6 things wrong.
Yeah.
I just want to know what to yell at him for.
What I was going to say real quick about that list, a guy like Brandon Phillips as an example, you don't realize it sometimes. Like named players just kind of disappear. Right? Go away. Brandon Phillips is not playing baseball this year anywhere, is he? I don't believe he is.
Where was he?
His name came up somewhere earlier. I do not believe. I'm pretty sure he's not in the big leagues.
I think it was because he was rather publicly campaigning for a job and saying, like, look, I mean, some of you guys are hurting out there and I'm ready to go.
He hit 285 last year. 13 home runs. But he didn't walk.
What was his on base last year?
His on base last year was 319.
Roughly league average.
Good defender still.
Yeah.
He could play some second base. I really enjoyed watching him play second. But that's one of those things you just don't realize it sometimes. If you're not a fan of one of the teams that he played on or don't follow them closely, but you follow the game, get some names sometimes that like, oh yeah, what happened? Forgot he stopped playing.
2-2. Span lifts this one down the left field line. Kiner for left with a long run and almost got to it. Now, he was headed out to left field and then at the last minute had to hang a sharp left to get to the ball.
Yeah, we were talking about how much room is here. Decent amount at Safeco Field in foul territory, and it's not an easy play. Those are really tough angle to come in on. And for Isaiah, now 4th game played here in Seattle. I guess no, probably 6th game him played in Seattle, right? He had the 2-game series earlier. Still getting a feel for it.
2-2 to Span. And we'll shoot that one on the seats again. Yeah, Brandon Phillips, a good one. We talked about Jason Worth, still in the Mariners system at AAA, where he'll be ready to go when and if they need. He has not excelled. He's, what, 39 years old now, and he's been hurt. That's another guy you haven't heard anything from this year. 2-2 pitch. Little comebacker, knocked down by Minor. Regains control, takes care of Span, and the inning is done. And we will go to the 5th inning tonight here in Seattle, where the Mariners lead it 3-1.
I talked to Delino before the game about some of those big catches he's had lately. Last night, the one here in the first inning. And, you know, speed we often talk about with Delino helps when you're trying to steal bases. It can also help in the outfield. The other thing he said helps is having a big chip on your shoulder. He has that right now because he's not swinging the bat well, he said. And so because of that, he wants to take everything away in the outfield. He said, when hits aren't going my way, I don't feel bad taking hits away from them, guys. He's the last line of defense, and he's taking pride in that right now.
Well, that really does put pitchers in kind of a strange conundrum, right? Where, of course, you want Delino to hit, but if he's not hitting, chip on the shoulder while he's playing defense is certainly something that works in the pitcher's favor.
Sure.
Right? So maybe you're not as disappointed when Delino's slumping as you might think as a pitcher. Like, well, somebody's going to have to pay for that defensively. Hopefully when I'm on the mound, that's when it's happening.
Now, I want to ask you about that. I don't know if we've had this discussion before. Little bouncer by the mound. Gordon has it. Good throw over to first. Gets to Shields. One out here in the 5th inning. So when you're pitching, you know, you see this from time to time, right? Guys who go out there and, you know, whether it's sort of a Sunday lineup, sometimes we call it, whatever the case, where maybe it's not the frontline offensive guys. Maybe they're better defensively who are out there behind a dude. And you think, I don't know, do I want more offense? Do I want more defense? I would think as a pitcher, you would almost always side with just give me the best defensive lineup you can.
I would say more often than not, yes, depending on what type of pitcher you are. If you're relying on contact, without a doubt. I mean, how many times do we see what happens with some backup catchers that are usually really good defensively, and a starter is able to kind of latch on and he becomes their personal catcher. From a defensive standpoint, it works out better for him. You're not having your feelings hurt at all if the better defensive squad is out there as a pitcher, no doubt about it. But more often than not, you don't have much of a say in that lineup anyway, so you just kind of deal with it either way. I think for the most part, players are pretty good about that part. It's just, it is what it is. I'm going to go with what I have. You're not going to complain. You're not going to get too upset. But if that better defensive center fielder, who's maybe the 4th or 5th outfielder, happens to be out there playing center that day you're pitching, hey, that's cool. I'll take it.
Kiner Falefa lofts one out there to center field. 2 away. So you know how hitters come in, right? And they look at the lineup card and they're trying to find their name. Am I in there? Am I, you know, where am I batting? as a starting pitcher, do you have to be coy? You know, when you walk in and just kind of sideways glance at that lineup card, or
so if you got a guy,
then
you got a guy that slugs, doesn't play really good defense, maybe somewhere, and he just happens to have off that day. No, you can't fist pump when you're looking at the lineup card. No, you can't do that. You can do it mentally in your head a little bit, but you know you're going to miss his bat too. So it's catch-22. I would say from the catching standpoint, maybe. If you're at that point in your career where you're not going to have any say in what they do. But strolling. Oh, yeah. Got the good defender today.
Yeah.
Got the guy that I'm on the same page with more often than not.
Well, the big chill, having some trouble there with the gnats or whatever in the air right around him. Good day at the plate. Single in the first inning. Homer last time up and hits this one high in the air, foul.
That's why Nomar is going to be our Southwest player breakdown. And going back to the fourth inning, I mentioned first time, at least that I can tell in his career, where he went left on left and got a changeup that he hit out of the ballpark. He has been so good against lefties this year, has Nomar Mazara, showing the power. Coming into this one, the batting average was 260, but more importantly, just 2 home runs over the last 2 seasons. Now 6. Look at those bugs.
2-strike pitch.
I don't know if those are those mosquitoes. They're a friendly group because I had to deal with them as well a couple of times being outdoors here in Seattle. I have my family with me, and my little guy was like, gosh, these bugs are annoying, but they don't really, they're just kind of there. They're not biting you. They're not bothering you. They're relatively, I want to say friendly might be a little bit strong, but docile.
Inert.
Yeah. They're just like, yeah, we're here.
2-2 the count. So we were talking about Rougned Odor earlier and the improvement he has made against left-handed pitching over last year's 145 average against. And of course, Nomar, we've talked about it a lot. He's bumped to 260 this year against lefties. Remember that he's still went up so far tonight. And now it's a full count.
And it's not just batting average where, you know, a couple of more ground balls have kind of gotten through the hole or some bloopers have fallen in here with Nomar Mazara. It has really been about his ability to go out there and slug a little bit. His OPS against those lefties this year, 846. That on base plus slugging, so that is certainly really encouraging. Coming into this season, his career OPS against lefties, 577. That's a monster improvement. Now we're only a couple months into the season, but it looks like it's real and it's going to stick.
High fly ball out to left field. This one carrying well, but Span now curling toward the corner and he makes the catch. It will end the inning, a 1-2-3 top of the 5th, so Mazara just missed. Halfway there tonight, 3-1 Seattle. day. You're going to love this one. Routine base hit center field. That's going to get a big run to the plate in the second inning for the Phillies. Or did it? I mean, did he even come close?
You don't think he touched it? Oh, no. He did not. Not even a little bit.
Nope.
Love it. It is strictly optional at this point.
Yeah. Neighborhood play.
No challenge there from the Dodgers.
Well, they must not have thought of it or seen it in time, obviously. Kershaw threw a pitch, and at that point, it's too late. Boy, oh boy, that wasn't even close. Zunino swings and misses the count 0-2. Another look again. Michael Franco. Just a foot to your left.
Not even a little bit when it was all said and done. It was a game, by the way, that the Phillies won. They beat the Dodgers 2-1. Aaron Nola, if you're not paying attention, has turned into a really good starter for the Phillies. He beat Kershaw, stayed in the game longer, 7 innings. He's now 7-2 with a 2.18. That kind of had to be fun for Gabe Kapler, the manager of the Dodgers, excuse me, of the Phillies. Had been with the Dodgers the last couple of years as their minor league director. And at one point, when they originally hired Dave Roberts, Gabe Kapler was a name that they were strongly considering, and they took Dave Roberts over Gabe Kapler. So that's got to be a little fun to go back into LA, visit, and beat their ace.
2-2. You can't feel good about that. You won 2-1 on a run that never touched the plate.
Zero guilt. Zero in this game when stuff like that happens.
That's a peeled potato right there. Here's 2-2 to Zunino. And upstairs, full count. Zunino struck out in the second inning. Minor was perfect in the fourth after he hit that 60-pitch plateau. Retired 3 in a row, his first perfect inning of the night. And now he walks Zunino to open the 5th inning. All right, time for a Chevy game break. Let's check in with Rick Renner. Oh, indeed. You never know. Well, man on here in the 5th inning. Here's D. Gordon. Speedy second baseman wants to bunt. It fouls off strike one. Triple in that first inning. And scored on the sac fly. Mariners had that was the first run of the game. They would add 2 more in the 3rd to jump out 3-0. Now 1-1. Gordon, who is so fast, sometimes can be a little slow getting back in the batter's box. Oh, again, chose bunt, pops it up, caught by Minor, and that'll be the only out he gets. So Zunino able to get back.
Good play by Mike Minor, who finished off the 4th inning with a nice defensive play. The line drive back at him. That Denard Span hit, knocked it down, threw him out at first, and does a good job. We talked about this yesterday on a higher pop-up, but I always wonder now with D. Gordon running, I say no. But the temptation, it's got to be a little bit real. Let's watch D. Gordon. If he drops this and oh, look at D. Gordon pulled up right there. You throw to first base. That is a double play every time. But it's just so hard. You think, oh, God, you just want the out so bad, and you take it. And to be able to think that quickly now, it was kind of right in front of Mike Minor, but still. I told you that story. I did that once in the minor leagues. Bunt right back to me in the air, and I'm not a quick thinker, you know that. And for whatever reason, I just decided to let the ball drop in front of me and returned a triple play and a bunt.
Don't kid yourself, you're a very quick thinker. But I love that play, and you're right on that one there. You know, I assume D. Gordon is always going to run it out, but he wasn't, and I think they could have done it.
I think what you concern yourself with is that there would just be absolute panic. As I think that's what Jeff Bannister would be concerned about. like Mike Minor makes that decision, and okay, well, you definitely want to throw that ball to first because you do not want D. Gordon on the bases under any circumstances. Trading D. Gordon for Mike Zunino would be a mistake. And so it's also a matter of making sure that you get the right guy out that you definitely want out, and you take the chance of doubling up Mike Zunino.
Two and one to count. Well, out to center field. DeShields coming on, and he can't get it, but knocks it back toward the infield. Zunino heads to third on the base hit.
I'm kind of curious what that hit. That caught Delano DeShields in the face. If it bounced that far forward, I don't think that was off of his glove. We'll take a better look at it here as Delano comes in, and yeah, it looked like that ball caught him off the side of the face.
Oh, you're right, right off the side of the head, left side of the head.
And that thing bounced really far after the bounce, and so very quickly, Lucero and Jeff Bannister are heading out to center field to check in on Delano DeShields. We're just having that conversation, right, about Delano and what Leslie was talking about, taking away hits from the other team when you're struggling a little bit.
And going all out, and we've seen that a lot.
Yeah.
Now that hurt, there's no question.
Oh, my goodness.
And now they go through, I would think you go through a little battery of questions and tests right here, right? Just to make sure, since it was a blow to the head, but he appears to be fine. Super slow-mo, let's see it again.
Full extension by Delano and a great effort to try to get this ball, and yeah, that went right off the top left portion of his head. He had to hit something though. I mean, it bounced really far. You don't see that on a guy diving in, and I'll take a look at him too when he comes in after this inning. But that makes it interesting as far as, you know, what would you do, seeing how this game goes. Would it be a good time to give Joey Gallo a couple of innings in center field? We talked about that conversation as a potential for the Rangers going forward. We could put you in the lineup.
Part of the story, right? In part of this conversation, who would play center, and could you put all three lefties out there, etc. As Haniger takes a strike, is born from the fact that the roster move today to get Beltre back on the 25-man roster was that Ryan Rule was sent back out to Round Rock, and Rule was the backup center fielder. And so then the question is, okay, yeah, I know what you can do out there, but who is the backup center fielder? And Bannett today more or less saying, yeah, it's Gallo. Ground ball, third base, diving stop, kind of Falefa to second base, but it gets by Odor. A run is in. Segura goes to third, and the double play that almost was disappeared. 4-1 Seattle.
Well, it was a great defensive play by Isaiah Kiner-Falefa to be able to dive and get to this ball. The mistake was that he tried to rush and get the double play, which you understand right there. He's thinking get to, and his feet kind of came out from under him as he set himself to make that throw. Watch this right here as he starts to throw. It looked like his back leg lost some footing, and that caused the throw to go a little bit wayward and change what potentially could have been right there.
Now Isaiah will run out to the mound along with Doug Brocale. Just a moment to talk things over here. So a run in.
What'd they go, fielder's choice on that play? Yep. Fielder's choice, E5.
Short conversation. Well, that's unfortunate. Zunino scored. Segura at third. Haniger at first base. So 4-1 the score. And here is Nelson Cruz, hit a 2-run blast his last time up. And watches that one down low. And Cruz with that homer. 10 now for the year. And that one a little bit in. Nelson Cruz, final year of his deal here in Seattle. I mentioned this last night that he led the league with 119 RBIs, also hit 39 home runs. He missed going 4 consecutive years of 40 or more home runs by 1 last year. Just fell short of it. Let's take a look. Our Southwest bullpen live look. Matt Bush getting ready. Two men out there, one away. And this one hit high in the air. Right center field. Mazzara underneath it, tagging at third base. Segura. Here comes a throw. Not in time. Five to 1 on the sac fly by Nelson Cruz. And that's 2 really good throws today from Nomar Mazzara.
Well, not only a good throw, but the fundamentals here of not overthrowing your cutoff man, which would then allow Haniger to get into scoring position. Watch the nice low throw. And so if Ronald Guzman wanted to cut off that ball, he could. And then Mitch Haniger would have been caught in a potential rundown to end the inning. But it was, yes, you're right, a very strong throw, 1 hopper. They really weren't going to get Gene Segura. I don't think the strongest arm in the game would have got Gene Segura right there. But what's more important to me was the fundamentals that Nomar Mazzara showed right there, not allowing Mitch Haniger to go to second.
So now Kyle Seager, but first to toss over there to keep Haniger close. Seager a walk, and is also flied out to left. Another toss over. The crowd tonight, 15,630 paid attendance here. And they're quick to get to those boos. You get a couple of tosses over to first base. Now the pitch on the way. That one's very high. Ball 1. Seager a couple of hits yesterday. And he has conjured a lot of 2-out magic this year already for Seattle, despite what appears to be a slow start, at least in terms of average. Drives in a lot of 2-out runs. As had here, 2 balls, no strikes.
Yeah, and the batting average of runners in scoring position has been good for Kyle Seager this year. 273 coming in, and it's one of those things that, if your year's not going exactly the way that you would like it to go, if you're doing something else, it seems like you're contributing in important situations. I think that helps a little bit for a guy like Seager. Something to hang your hat on.
A little bit of a shift against him, and he hits this one foul out of play. And it's 2-1.
I've talked about this before, but that's one of the big advantages, I think, for the modern player with where we are with analytics, because for so long it was just looking at your batting average, your home runs, and your RBIs. And not only for you, but also for your team and your fans, for the thinking fan that really kind of digs in, say, well, listen, his exit velocity has been great this year. His line drive rate is right there. His batting average on balls and play has been low because he's had some bad luck, but he's doing some good things.
Well, hard one out there to Odor, just on the edge, back edge of the infield, and he's able to get Seager to in the inning. 2 more runs, and it's a 5-1 lead. But when we come back, the captain, Adrian Beltre, first day back, he'll lead things off for the Rangers. we are at dusk on this Thursday night. Hey, Saturday, June 16th, it's a 3:05 game. Rockies and Rangers. The first 15,000 fans get an Adrian Beltre Best Friends bobblehead, courtesy of Dr. Pepper and Albertsons. It's the first in a series of 2 Best Friends bobbleheads. Tickets are available at TexasRangers.com or by calling 972-RANGERS. There they go. Sort of, if I put myself there for a moment on that ship, cold drink in hand, looking out. That'd be nice. James Pazos coming on here in the 6th inning for Seattle.
See the good numbers, and he has been fantastic for this bullpen. 1.40 ERA, 20 strikeouts, and just 1 walk so far for the Mariner left-hander.
It's right in there to Beltre for strike 1.
We saw that fastball at 94. That's been about the average for him. 94, 95 miles an hour on the heater. And only one other secondary pitch, a slider that sits right around 80 miles per hour.
Line drive base hit right field for Adrian Beltre. And move aside Cap Anson. There's a new kid in town. Adrian now clear of Cap Anson on the all-time hit list with his 2nd hit of the night.
We think. Mostly, sort of, with the strangeness of the
in theory.
It's in history, but patented Adrian Beltre, so good against lefties over the course of his career, but not just because he can show power, but he can take a good fastball and drive it with authority the other way. It was a big opening on the right side, and Adrian took full advantage of it.
I said earlier that it wasn't going to happen tonight that he would catch Ichiro Suzuki, but I don't know. It's early. Up and in on Profar for ball 1. Well, Jurickson doubled his last time in. That was in the 4th. A 4th inning where the Rangers went home run, single, and double, but had to settle for just the 1 run. And we've seen this a little bit in the series, right, where there have been some missed opportunities early in the game. And you kind of shake your head and think, oh boy, I hope that one doesn't come back to haunt them later. But sure enough, later in the game lately, they have created some opportunities, cashed in on those opportunities. They've taken 2 of the 3 games so far in this series.
Yeah, we talked about that. The start of the game and where this Mariners bullpen was coming in, and really what they have done over the last couple of games. And so even though you get a guy like LeBlanc who isn't overpowering, and there's some big arms in the Mariner bullpen, you do like the idea of getting to that bullpen after the struggles that the Rangers have seen the past couple of nights.
Ground ball right side. Gordon with the flip to second. Segura's turn in time. And they just get Profar. Well, that looked like a near disaster right there when Gordon flipped that one high to second. I wasn't sure Segura was going to be able to get it done.
Yeah, looked like at one point maybe they'd be happy just to get the one because of the high toss, but Gene Segura with a really strong throw, and this one was close, but the Rangers are not going to challenge it. It will be a 4-6-3 double play.
Small base is empty now. Took a little out of the arm, it looks like, for Segura. And here's Joey Gallo. Now Joey 0 for 2. He is flat out to left, and he is struck out swinging. So maybe it wasn't the throw after all on Segura. Oh, ouch. Adrian strikes again. I don't think Gene Segura's not going to get on that best friend's bobblehead now.
No, probably not. Have to get in line after that.
1-1, and it's a little bit low. Gallo batting 6th in the order tonight. And you see the average down there right near the Mendoza line, but 15 home runs and 34 RBIs. The thing this year that's been, I don't want to say a surprise, but maybe the greater cause for concern is that the on-base average is at 288. 2-2. I mean, there was talk during spring training after last year that the great thing about Gallo, he was taking walks last season to go with the home runs, getting on base at a high clip. And we started the year with Joey batting 2nd. The high on base, why not? But it's harder to take the 200 average when you're not getting on base at a high clip, and that is the case right now for Joey.
So I'll look at it this way. The pace right now for Joey Gallo, we're just, slightly over a third of the way through the season. So the home run pace is a little bit higher than it was a year ago. I think we will see a better version of Joey Gallo as we go a little bit further. You mentioned the on base being down for him. He had a 14% walk rate last year. This year it's been 9.6% so far. I think we'll see him see an improvement there. The strikeout rate is actually 1% better than it has been in the past. But I think, so when you see those things and say, okay, well, the idea of drawing some more walks, I think based on what we saw last year and the year before that, the walk rate for Joey Gallo was 17%. I know we didn't play in very many games that year. I think you look at the pace of around 45 home runs, I do think you'll see that on base percentage come up.
Stays alive here, 3-2.
He had a lot thrown at him last year, right? Moving third to first, and we saw him in the outfield. Same thing kind of happening this year. Batting 2nd, which, you always wonder if that changed his approach as much as the Rangers told him, don't think differently. It's one thing to say it, and it's one thing for you to even believe it. But you probably feel a little bit different when you're sitting in a 2-hole. That seems like it was a while ago.
That does.
But it certainly was part of Joey Gallo's 2018 season story.
He laced that one out to right field. Gallo is on with 2 out here in the 6th inning.
I would be more concerned with Joey Gallo if we saw a jump in strikeout rate. Then I'd be like, well, now maybe there is a problem. This is a really nice swing from Joey, by the way, on a good fastball against a good left-hander. Turns on that, and D. Gordon tried to get up. But I don't know if he got his glove on that. That might have taken him all the way out to right field. D. Gordon, not a heavy fella. That ball was ripped.
So man on now, and here is Rougned Odor. Takes outside. Odor 0 for 2, struck out looking his first time up. Well, the Rangers down by 4, and not that you're necessarily looking for the home run exclusively, but you know that Odor, a guy who can run into one, and it would change the complexion of this game quickly. James Pazos, though, a tough left-hander out there. Good velocity, especially on the back of Wade LeBlanc, the soft-tossing lefty. We'll win 5 innings tonight. Down low, 3-0. Pazos falls behind Odor in a pretty big way. Given the fact that he's walked just 1 hitter this year, CJ, does that make you more likely to give the green light here to Odor? You know he's throwing a strike, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be a little bit careful here in that spot for me. I mean, he's still a guy that he can get to any fastball. I don't concern myself with that. And then that conversation of, are you going to get anything better than you're going to get on 3-0? Now, that pitch looked to be below the zone. I'd say probably not left on left. He would have had the green light there.
3-1. This one foul. It's a full count. Well, it was promising 3-0, but now Odor's going to have to protect a little bit. Gallo at first with 2 away. He'll be running. Five runs, 6 hits for Seattle. 1 run on 6 hits for the Rangers. Teams have played 8 games head-to-head this year. They have split them. There goes Gallo. A swing and a miss. So Odor strikes out for the 2nd time tonight. Inning is over. Rangers leave a man. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning in Seattle. The Mariners lead the Rangers 5-1. Of the 6th inning, and we've got Bush here in the 6th inning. Our Kubota power stats. You look at this Rangers bullpen through 58 games this year versus the first 58 games last year. Walks per 9 down pretty significantly, better than 10%. Strikeouts per 9 up pretty significantly over last year. Those are 2 pretty good trends for this pen.
Important trends as well, because there was a lot of talk in spring training about the bullpen. The pitching staff overall, there was a lot of talk about it even last year as far as correcting some of the things that we have seen now corrected. The strikeout rate, the walk rate, that is certainly some good news as you take a look at the pitch arsenal for Matt Bush. Fastball, curveball, cutter, with that fastball averaging 97 miles per hour this year.
Good fastball right there for a strike. 96 miles per hour. Ryan Healy 0 for 2. And a bouncing ball right to second base. Odor sets up, fires, and there's 1 away. We've got a moment now. How about a word from our friends at Kia?
At Kia, get America's best value backed by a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty.
Okay, 1 down, and Guillermo Heredia 1 for 2. Batter here with the 6th inning. So Minor went 5 innings, gave up 5 runs on 6 hits. 4 of the 5 runs were earned. Walked 2, struck out 2. And the bullpen will have to take it from here. Line drive over second base. That's a base hit for Heredia.
Talking about Heredia earlier, and does a good job defensively in center field, but also his ability to get on base. And this is a really nice approach, because that's a pretty good pitch from Matt Bush on the outside corner. And when you know a guy throws as hard as Matt Bush does, you certainly don't want to get into pull mode on pitches away, and gets himself a pitch that he could handle on the outside corner. There's a little cutter at 92 miles per hour from Matt Bush.
So now Denard Span, who was 1 for 2 tonight. Infield a double play depth, and the pitch run on the outside corner for a strike.
The last 3 outings for Matt Bush have each gone more than an inning. He even had his season high 2 games ago where he went 2 2/3. He threw 43 pitches in that outing, and that has been the role that he has kind of been morphing into here for the Rangers. Not a long man, a bit of a different feel, but just
Two-shot liner over third and into foul ground. Heredia heads to third base. The throw beats him there, though, and he is out.
It's amazing. How many times have we seen Joey Gallo now make these throws off balance in the outfield? And it's not bad mechanics. It's understanding the timing. If you're going to have any chance of getting a runner, and it looked like Denard Span was talking to himself there as he swung. That was really odd. But watch Joey here. I mean, we saw him do this last night. He looks like he's playing third base on a slow roller, and he's accurate with those throws. That is an excellent job by Joey Gallo. He'll take that outfield assist, and certainly Matt Bush will take it as well.
Yeah, so a base hit for Denard Span. He moved up on the.
Oh, really?
throw.
Not a
How
double,
they
huh?
scored.
Interesting. Do you think they had any chance at throwing Denard Span out at second base on that ball?
No, I don't
Should have
believe
been.
it.
I mean, listen, I don't want it to be a double against Matt Bush, but that's a double.
I'm with you. Span out there in scoring position with 2 out. Zunino walked his last time up and then came around to score. And he takes in. It's 2-0.
Is he talking right here? Or we're not going to see from that look. Let's take here. You see him. I mean, he turned it on the afterburners once he saw that ball was down. And even Jurickson Profar was kind of pointing to second, thinking there was no way there was going to be a play at third.
Foul
Strange.
ball, our direction.
Coming in hot. Right? That one came in a little hot.
That one had me a little worried.
Really?
Well, yeah.
Sarah's right there with you.
I know,
She's
she
got
was
you.
looking down, reading something. I think, oh my gosh, she's going to get smoked. Not on my watch. Check swing foul.
So we're all on the same page. That
She's
if I
in
understand you correctly, you're going to protect her before you're going to protect me. Did I get that right?
Well, I mean, if it were to come to that, I would. But it's only because I feel like you can handle it
That
yourself.
would be your mistake, making that assumption.
So Sarah's more capable.
I feel
of
like
defending
she's pretty
herself.
athletic. I think she got a better chance at catching a baseball. She does this often. She has these angles down. She's in this booth all the time. She understands it.
She's not even paying attention.
This is a road game for us.
Ground ball in the hole. It's short. Profar with a long throw, and Guzman, good job to lead the bag and make sure he got that baseball. Zunino was on via the infield hit. Span at third. But Guzman, look, I mean, sometimes you just have to know when you need to vacate.
This would have been and would have taken a great play by Jurickson Profar. He did a nice job getting to that ball, but it was going to be a strong throw that had to be right on the bag to have any chance to get even Zunino, who's not a great runner. But you're right. Ronald Guzman reads that throw right away and does a good job of coming off the bag. Now the trainers are going to come out and see Mike Zunino, who, based on his facial expression, I have a feeling he may be coming out of this one.
Yeah, body language not real good for Zunino. Well, he legs out an infield hit. Well, they'll leave him in there. He spent some time on the DL earlier this year on an oblique strain. But he's okay, so he stays in. Top of the order now, and here's some real good speed in D. Gordon. First and third, 2 away. onside foul and out of play. Well, a different looking Mariners lineup with D. Gordon at the top of it, whether it was as a center fielder earlier in the season or now back again as a second baseman as he was with the Marlins. Traded by the Marlins to Seattle. An all-star Gold Glove second baseman in the National League and converted to center field for Seattle. And he bounces this one high boundary to second base. Odor takes care of his opposite number. The inning is done. So the Mariners leave a couple. We go to the 7th inning. Time getting short tonight. Mariners lead by 4. Here and time for T-Mobile's Hats Off for Heroes. And today we salute King Felix Hernandez, a member of Carhartt's Strikeouts for Vets starting rotation. Such a cool idea that they have, lowering batting averages and unemployment rates of U.S. veterans. That's sort of the mantra they have, and they do a great job raising money with every strikeout of a 5-man rotation, including Felix Hernandez, Corey Kluber, Chris Sale, among others. It's his 14th big league season, all of them with the Mariners, and is the only guy in baseball who leads his franchise in wins and strikeouts. And here is Juan Nicasio on here with the 7th inning.
We saw the right-hander in last night's ball game. He threw 29 pitches in that outing, but he's on here now for the Seattle Mariners. There are the overall numbers. Still another reliever who comes in out of this Mariners bullpen with a tremendous strikeout to walk ratio. 32 strikeouts to just the 2 walks, but he has allowed 4 home runs. I wonder how many times we've seen that, a reliever allowing more home runs than walks in a season. Probably not too often. Good fastball at 94 miles an hour, slider at 87. The changeup has averaged 89 this year.
His first offering off the plate to Chirinos. Robinson, Chirinos, and Ronald Guzman, and then back up to the top of the order for Delino DeShields. 5-1. Rangers will need some late inning magic again tonight, as they have had the last couple of nights. Yesterday was the 7th inning in which they scored 4 runs to come from behind to win. In Tuesday's game, scored 3 in the 6th and 4 in the 9th. Their comeback victory. 1-2 the count on Chirinos. Getaway day for the Rangers. Seattle stays home. There's no time called. They are in the middle of a really long homestand here. Tampa Bay coming to town for the weekend. 2-2 the count to Chirinos. Yesterday, Nicasio was one of the real bright lights. Now that Mariners bullpen, an inning and 2/3 of scoreless baseball. Although he gave up the double to Chirinos on the first pitch of his relief outing. That was a double that scored 2 runs. The 2 runs that would be the deciding runs in the game.
Big hit for Robbie, and a bit of a slow start to the season for him offensively. Big year in 2017. Consistency of the at-bats, he really cashed that in last year.
3-2 pitch, that one popped up. Back of second base. Segura wants it, and he takes it. Well, host your next group or company outing at a Rangers game. Groups of 20 or more enjoy significant savings off gate prices. Plus, you can add on things like picnic areas, meal deals, or other experiences which really add to the group outing. Check it all out, texasrangers.com/groups. Well, he had the red sleeves going today with his uni. Stayed warm. So the temperature was lowest tonight, the 4 days we were here, and it was one of the more comfortable games that we have had. As Guzman fouls away strike 1.
Maybe the temperature holding a little bit better. No breeze tonight. That was a little bit of an issue the last couple of nights. And not only that, but boy, did it get cold toward the end of the night last night, right? It seemed like that last inning, it got chilly, really chilly. But tonight, you're right, so far very comfortable.
Swing and miss. Guzman on a hole 0-2.
I'm always curious, too, about how different guys feel. We talked about Mike Minor, some of the struggles that he has had on the road. This was always one of my favorites and most comfortable ballparks to pitch in on the road. Now, we were talking about it earlier. I feel like it plays fair, even before they moved it in. The walls in when I pitched here a little bit bigger, but just at the time, one of the best mounds, in my opinion, in the game. And also, I will tell you that I believe for a while that the radar gun ran a little bit hot here.
Okay.
And so there was something to that, too. Like you rear back, instead for a guy like me, instead of seeing maybe a 92, I'm seeing a 94. I say, hey, a little extra pep in the step today. And so that made you feel a little bit better as well. Some of that false security with inaccurate radar gun.
Guzman strikes out swinging, and there are 2 away now in the 7th inning. Maybe a little of the local coffee giving you that burst.
I didn't drink coffee then, though.
Now Delano to Shields. Delano 0 for 3 today. So I hear that from time to time, right, about mounds and guys liking certain mounds. Dodger Stadium has always had a great reputation for having a really good mound. Some people would tell you that it's a little higher than other mounds in baseball. What is it, though, that makes it a good mound for you?
It's a good question. I mean, without a doubt, you just feel like, first of all, sometimes when you step on the mound, there are certain ballparks where you feel like the plate feels closer. Now, there's no way that it is closer, but there is something about the optics of what's happening behind you. Then, of course, the consistency of the dirt. And I will tell you, across the league, they do such an excellent job. And even at the minor league level, they do a really nice job compared to a couple of decades ago as far as how good the quality of the dirt and how much time they put into taking care of these mounds. But any mound that you step on, that you feel like you can mold the way that you want to mold it, but then it's not also going to break away. Like, think about when you were younger, maybe amateur levels, and big chunk of dirt would be missing from the mound. It would get, kind of worn away over time, and then you had a big hole to deal with. It really doesn't happen in the big leagues. And these ground screws across the board are excellent. You see it there, it's just a little bit. You can see that darker clay underneath there, and you can kind of mold that to what you want it to be. It's not going to break away. There's not going to be a big hole. You just don't see that anymore. Even in the big leagues, not that long ago, you would see that at times where they'd call the ground screw out and they'd try to fix the big hole, or you had to work around it. They do such an excellent job with that these days. But this was always just, for me, one of those mounds that just felt really comfortable. Maybe the weather here is pretty comfortable to pitch in for the most part as well.
So what was the bigger deal? The part right there by the rubber where you get your foot dug in, or the landing spot?
Landing spot was really big, and it's the same thing. It's the same dirt that they we hear them after the game pounding it down and tamping it afterwards, and it's a different kind of clay that's in the landing spot, and then also where guys are pushing off. I mean, there's nothing there. Here we are now, right? I mean, we are in the top of the 7th inning, and you see nothing there. Go back and watch some old highlights. There's times where you'll see the pitcher's foot disappear,
yeah, because there's a
monster hole in there. And the worst part is if you came in as a reliever, was not where you landed, and you kind of caught a little bit of it sideways, you had to dig out the rest of the hole. So it worked out for you.
The Shield strikes out swinging. And the Rangers go quietly at the top of the 7th inning. Last of the 7th we go. Mariners leading at 5-1.
And the Rangers. Well, Jeff Bannister called the bullpen their best performing group right now. And it's not just one guy, it's all of them. In fact, Jake Diekman told us it trickles down. For whatever reason, they feed off of each other. He joked, they have 4 hours to sit out there and hang out together, but they play catch, they help each other with mechanics. So there's a camaraderie in the bullpen, guys, that seems to transfer onto the field.
That's worked out really well for this bullpen as of late, and you bring up a really good point, and Jake Diekman does as well. You usually get judged as a group, right? For the most part, it's the only section or part of a baseball team where you get judged as a whole. Like, you could talk about the offense, you could talk about the starting pitching, but you'll dig in a little bit more individually, and we do that with the bullpen. But a lot of times people will just look at the team and say, well, the bullpen's doing this, and you are judged as a group, and you take it personally a little bit, and certainly having good camaraderie down there and guys that get along with each other, understand each other, because it is a lot of time. You see the conversations going on. They spend sitting in that bullpen. I mean, can you imagine having to share a space with somebody for 3.5 hours a day all season long? Somebody you prefer not to talk to? Yes. I don't know what that was like. I can't even imagine what that would be like, but I imagine it would be miserable.
And walk to Segura to start the 7th inning. Hey, come on out to Whataburger for an autograph session with Rangers reliever Chris Martin. It's June 7th. Starts at 10:30 in the morning. It's the Whataburger at 125 Sycamore School Road in Fort Worth. Sign up to be a Whataburger Whata fan while you're there, and you could win tickets to an upcoming Rangers game, as well as Whataburger for a year. Just go to TexasRangers.com/appearances. Segura aboard, and now Haniger takes one up and away.
The part of being a non-closer, for the most part, your season's going well, the media is not talking to you, right? Nobody wants to talk to the guy that threw a shutout inning in the 7th of a win. But boy, if you gave it up that inning and gave up the lead, they'll be waiting for you after the game. They want to ask you some questions. So generally speaking, if you're a non-closer and the media hasn't talked to you very much, you've probably had a pretty good year.
You like to talk to the media.
Well, it's because it seemed like they were at my locker quite a bit.
You just got used to it?
What happened? Well, here's what happened. I did. I was like, because I was always interested in media, so I always like talking to those guys just in general, getting to know all the writers and getting to know the TV people. I had a lot of questions, kind of learning how things worked a little bit while I was playing. Started realizing this isn't going that great. What else is out there for me?
2-1 to Haniger, who is 0 for 3 so far tonight. And he lines this one to second, caught by Odor. I thought it'll be the only play he has. The line out. It's the first down of the inning.
That was hit hard, but a nice play here by by Rougned Odor as he gets up. And a smart play. Sometimes guys will come down and try to throw that ball without looking, but there was no play at first base, and so a good job by Rougned Odor to resist that temptation of trying to make more out of that play than what could be.
So one out now for Nelson Cruz. He's had a real good night at the plate. 2-run homer, a sac fly. Bush trying to get through 2 innings. Now he could certainly use a ground ball right here. Cruz has bounced into 5 double plays this year. Off on that one. It's 2-0.
And Matt Bush right around league average on that ground ball rate for him this year, 44%. But he is the only Ranger pitcher not to induce ground ball double play yet this year. He's got a good candidate and a slower runner in Nelson Cruz.
This one hit sharply up the middle. That's a base hit for Cruz. Segura will stop at second. 2 men aboard here in the 7th inning. Time for a Chevy game break. Let's say hello again to Rick Renner. All right, thanks, Rick. Yeah, that is interesting news, and you know, there has been a lot of discussion about Clayton Kershaw. He has an opt-out in his contract. Would he opt out and elect to try the free agent market this coming off season? And more and more, I'm thinking that is a real long shot as Seager takes high for ball 1.
I think I would agree with you. He may try to see if he can get another year or two extended on the back end of that deal, but sometime last year with the back issue on the DL, and then this year he came off the DL. It wasn't a back issue, it was left biceps that he was dealing with, and it was tendinitis. He missed nearly the entire month of May. Now that back acting up again, and for the Dodgers, they were probably pretty excited that he was coming off the DL. They've been playing much better after a slow start to the season and think, okay, well now we'll really kick it into gear. We'll get our ace back. We're just 3 games under 500 now in 3rd place. But we'll see how serious that is. Still plenty of time left though for the Dodgers, and with the Diamondbacks struggling a little bit, the Rockies right now are the 1st place team in the National League West.
2 balls, 2 strikes on Seager. The Diamondbacks so hot, so cold. Dodgers on that rugged start, but I just had a feeling that they were starting to head in the right direction. Seager lifts this one out into right field, and Mazzara, does he have room? He does, and he'll make the catch. Segura tags at second, heads to third, and he just does get there ahead of the throw.
Good. Segura almost looks annoyed at Nomar Mazzara because he did not bust it off of second base. I think he thought he had this very easily. Nomar's like, "What? Don't get mad at me. You should run."
That's absurd to me.
Yeah, Watch it, and I think they're kind of joking around a little bit and having some fun with each other. Good play by Nomar, dealing with that wall right there, but he comes up and goes ahead and takes a chance on a throw, and man, that was close. Good night for Nomar Mazara throwing the baseball. Woo.
You know, off the bat, where he was, you'd think no shot. Segura able to score, though, on this base hit by Healy. Right after that play, an RBI single by Healy, and it's 6-1 Seattle.
Take a look at the pitch from Matt Bush. Pretty good one, middle away. Now, we've seen some good hits by the Mariners tonight where they have stayed in the middle of the field or have gone the other way. It's another example of it right there, taking that opposite field approach, especially when you're going up against high velocities with the way that Matt Bush throws at 95 miles per hour.
Segura has scored 3 runs now tonight for Seattle. Here is Heredia, and he takes outside. Heredia, couple of hits, 2 for 3. Boy, does he do a good job of lengthening this lineup when they're able to put him down in the 7th spot in the order. An on-base percentage well over 400. Batting average closing in on 300 for Heredia. Seattle, you know, we're talking about the National League West a moment ago. This American League West, Seattle's a player. Ground ball up the middle. Profar will flip it to Odor. Boy, he just gets to the bag in time. And that was close. All right, 7 innings complete. Rangers need to get something going in this series finale in Seattle. Low fares, no hidden fee. That's transparency. And by GMC. Visit your local GMC dealer. Well, top of the 8th inning, Rangers need to get going offensively tonight, down by 5. And you know, you can watch every out-of-market regular season game live at home, in the office, or on the go with MLB.TV. Your subscription includes MLB At Bat Premium, which allows you to watch live baseball on your favorite supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions do apply. Just visit MLB.TV for details. All right, Chasen Bradford is on now for Seattle in this 8th inning.
The third pitcher of the night coming out of this bullpen for the Seattle Mariners is game number 19. Another guy with a very good strikeout to walk ratio. 19 strikeouts to 5 walks so far this year for Bradford, who throws as hard as the rest of the guys in this pen. We've seen some big arms and some big fastballs. For Bradford, both the fastball, four-seamer, and the sinker average around 91 miles per hour. You'll see a slider and a changeup as well in the mid-80s.
Kiner Falefa starting things off here in the 8th, and he takes a strike. It's 1-1. Isaiah 0 for 3 in this one tonight. The Rangers have had 6 hits. They've left 7 men on base, including the bases loaded in the 4th inning. Ground ball right side. Sliding stop Gordon, but he can't get the handle. And so Kiner Falefa is on to start the 8th inning. On the one hand, you'd think, no big deal. You're still up by 5, but the last couple of days, the doubt creeps in.
Yeah, it looked like D. Gordon was going to make a pretty good play here, but it was on the exchange where he started to have a little trouble. Did a great job of getting to this ball, but watch the ball pop out of his glove as he tries to get it into his hand. Just could not get it cleanly. Turns it into a base hit.
So Isaiah's out there now. Here comes Nomar Mazara. 2 hits tonight, including a home run. Bradford's first pitch. Fouled over to the left side. Good all-round numbers for the Big Chill. Back-to-back games now with 2 hits. Going to the count.
A good overall night for Nomar. We've seen him make 3 really strong throws from the outfield. Swinging the bat really well. Hit that left-handed changeup out to deep right center field. And it's been a good year. Good first 2 months as we get ready to kind of turn the calendar and head into June. And it never works out this way, but you start to look at the season in sections, and a third of the way through, you start to think what could be when it's all said and done. And for Nomar, with the year that he's having right now, big jump potentially here in home runs this season.
Bouncing ball to Segura. He'll flip to Seager for 1 and on to first in time for the 6-5-3 double play.
Let's get to our Ford game summary, and welcome back Adrian Beltre, who had a couple of really nice at-bats. We see this line drive to left field from Adrian, and then we see a line drive to right field from Adrian Beltre so far. Those hits coming in the 4th and the 6th inning for him. DHing tonight is number 29 and stepping in for his 4th at-bat of the night here in the 8th inning.
The base is cleared now, and he takes one off the plate for a ball. Remarkable for many reasons, not the least of which is you can just be activated, step into the lineup, and get 2 base hits. It is amazing.
You're right about that, and it really is, because so many guys, and we've seen a little bit of a trend here. I've actually watched it and noticed it around the league the last couple of years where some guys don't go on rehab assignments, and it's worked out. For pitchers, it doesn't always. I'd love to see pitchers get an inning competitively or 2 if they could, that game adrenaline. But Adrian, we kind of use that phrase and we joke around about it and we say it sarcastically, but he is one of these guys that seems like he could roll out of bed and hit. Just comfortable in the box. The consistency of his swing, regardless of what kind of pitcher he's facing, regardless of what kind of velocity he has to go up against, he never really seems overmatched.
Takes on the corner, and it's 2-2. Bradford pitching out of the stretch exclusively, and Beltre puts that one in the seats. It's been interesting in this series. The Mariners have been quick to go to their bullpen. We saw Bradford last night for an inning, give up 3 hits in the 9th, but survived it without allowing a run. And we saw him the day before, also in the 9th inning. Came in to clean up after Edwin Diaz. This one over to the right side, and again keeps the count at 2-2.
Maybe the most surprising part of what we're hearing from Adrian Beltre so far is he seems pretty open to the idea of DHing a little bit more. Seems a little bit open to the idea of maybe some rest here and there. I'm certainly sure that he hated the time that he's missed so far and doesn't want it to happen again, but we've always looked at Adrian as a guy that wants to be out there. Not that he doesn't want to be out there, but almost would make it difficult to be taken out of the lineup and to miss games. And the openness, I think, that we're hearing from him, certainly encouraging and understanding probably what is best for him, what is best for the team, to take those days here and there, DH a little bit more. Maybe a smarter play for him at this point.
High fly ball out to right field. Haniger, plenty of room. And we'll go to the bottom of the 8th inning. Seattle still leads the Rangers 6-1. Airlines. Low fares, no hidden fees. That's transparency. And by Ford. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer today. Ford is the best in Texas. Downtown Seattle off in the distance. 6-1 Mariners lead as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning here at Safeco Field. Great to be with you tonight. Appreciate you staying up late with us as Jesse Chavez comes in to pitch here in the 8th inning.
And there is the pitch arsenal for Jesse. Fastball, slider, changeup, curveball. Still good velocity for Jesse. 92 miles an hour has been the average fastball for him this year. He's done a nice job. We've talked about this a lot with the Rangers bullpen this year. Guys throwing multiple innings. And Jesse came into the season, not sure if he was going to be in the rotation. We talked about that a lot in spring training, or whether or not he would be that long man, and he's done an excellent job eating up those innings for the Ranger bullpen this year. And looks like it may just be a 1-inning outing for him tonight, unless the Rangers can come back in the top of the 9th.
So he comes in for Bush. That went 2 innings, allowed a run on 5 hits, walked 1. Bouncer, second base, nice easy hop for Odor, and they take care of Denard Span to start the 8th inning. All right, so after this one, we hit the road, head down to Southern California. Tomorrow, our Ford pitching probables. Bartolo Colon against Jaime Barria. Pregame will begin at 8:30 Central Time here on Fox Sports Southwest.
But the biggest disparity we have had between ages of pitchers with Bartolo, I mean, it's always a topic of conversation. But Barria is 21 years old.
Yeah, it's gotta be, right?
It's amazing. 45 versus 21.
Chopper shortstop. Profar has it. Throws out Zunino, 2 away.
I mean, there's one thing when he was facing Gleyber Torres and younger hitters, but now to go head-to-head. A pitching matchup, 24 years difference.
And when you're better than twice the age of your opponent.
Modern day Satchel Paige, Bartolo is.
It really is. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's been so much fun to watch it, just to be around this season. So pitch to D. Gordon. 1 for 4 tonight. Gordon batting here with 2 outs and nobody on. In the last of the 8th inning, Seattle leads by 5. Trying, Seattle that is, to split this 4-game series. Seattle had been on a pretty nice run before the Rangers took each of the last 2 games. Gordon down the left field line, but that one slices foul.
Now, you were talking earlier and bringing up that point about how the Rangers have done a nice job in their bullpen improving the strikeout rate, the walk rate. This is something that kind of gone unnoticed even for me. But Jesse Chavez this year, 30 strikeouts to 6 walks, so that's a 5-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. It's a monster improvement for him over the course of his career. He's been 2.7 has been the ratio for Jesse, which is a very good ratio. You always kind of say 2-to-1. It's kind of where you want to be, 3-to-1. Well, this year he is 5-to-1 on that strikeout to walk ratio. He certainly has bought in and has done a nice job of filling up the strike zone without sacrificing strikeouts to do it. A lot of times guys say, oh, well, I want to throw more strikes, but then that means more contact because hitters are more comfortable to put the ball in play more. Well, it's been the opposite for Jesse. The strikeout rate has been a little bit better than over the course of his career, and the walks have come down in the process.
You see the overall numbers for Jesse. 285 batting average against. Trying to get us to the 9th. And he strikes out Gordon to do it. So a 1-2-3 bottom of the 8th inning for Jesse Chavez. Last chance for the Rangers coming up. Profar, Gallo, and Odor are due. To that.
Is Max saying that he predicted the 2 hits for Adrian?
I mean, that's what I took from that.
Yeah, it sounded like he was tasting himself a little bit right there. Well done.
Well, Profar, Gallo, and Odor here in this 9th inning. Jason Bradford stays out for another inning, and Profar on a whole 0-2. Through the scoreless 8th inning, allowed a hit. Rangers' one run came in the fourth, the solo home run by Mazzara. Later they would load the bases in the inning, but just could not add to the run total. Profar rolls this one down to first. Healy, though, right there. And that is out number one. Brings up Joey Gallo, who hits him a long way, as you know. And Saturday, June 9th, the first 15,000 fans will get a Joey Gallo tape measure bobblehead, courtesy of Dairy Max. Astros and Rangers, 6:15 game. Tickets available at TexasRangers.com. There's Joey. Today 1 for 3, had a base hit in the 6th inning, and he takes a low strike.
Mention that. How about that? The longest average home run distance, that's going back to the beginning of last year. Got to hit at least 25 to get on that list, and Joey Gallo right there, just a couple of inches behind Miguel Sano. Oh, that's beautiful.
Talk about inches.
That is beautiful.
He found the hole in that shift for his second hit of the night.
Listen, the idea of hitting the ball 407 feet, 7 inches on average, that's definitely fun. But there's got to be a little bit of a smile here for Joey Gallo. We can hit one right in between the shift. It wasn't even his hardest ground ball necessarily, just perfectly placed as both Gene Segura and D. Gordon dive for that ball but can't get it.
So Joey's on a 2-hit game. Rangers going to need a few more base runners, and here is Odor, who is 0 for 3 so far tonight. Of course, Rugi yesterday was not in the lineup, the day after he delivered that bases clearing double. And the Rangers comeback win. And today, had a little bit of a tougher time at the plate with a couple of strikeouts in there. Watches a good strike here, and the count 1-1. So Bradford likely to be left in to finish this one off, barring the Rangers really getting something started. And this was a day 2, I think, for Seattle, where they could have used a little bit of a break in that bullpen, especially guys like Edwin Diaz. 1-2. This one in the air out to left field. Back goes Span, and he'll make the play. 2 away now. The Rangers are down to their final out.
No, you're right. They gave Edwin Diaz the night off yesterday. Didn't want him to pitch after pitching in 5 of 7. But as a manager, whenever you make that decision, you do love the idea of being able to give a guy a second day. Not because you want to, but because you can afford to. And based on the way that this game has gone, they can give Edwin Diaz back-to-back nights off. And for the Mariners, certainly hoping he can get back to where he was. Just a little bit of a blip for him. The Rangers did a great job and caught him on a night where the fastball command wasn't there, the slider wasn't very good, and they really cashed it in, did a great job.
It's funny, the season of a relief pitcher, good or bad for that matter. I mean, he's a very good one. He had given up 5 runs all year, and the Rangers almost doubled that with the 1 outing. And he scored 4 off of it. This one fouled back up into the seats, and the count 0-2 on Chirinos. Robinson hitless in 2 at-bats, also walked in the 4th inning. Wade LeBlanc started the game with 5 innings. And he's in line to pick up his first win of the year for Seattle. And Pazos, Ocasio, and now Bradford. Bouncing ball foul, third base side. Tony Beasley Still has those good hands. He made a couple very happy. That's awesome. You stayed to the end and you got rewarded.
Well, at some point, of course, the conversation had to come up. It's getting a little chilly. Shut it down in the 8th inning. No, you stick around. You never know what's going to happen.
Well, swing and a miss, and Chirino strikes out to end this one. Bradford does finish off the 2 innings and preserves the Mariners' 6-1 win tonight. So the Rangers split this series, but dropped the finale, and now we'll head to Anaheim. Stay with us, though. Rick Renner, Mark McLemore, Darren Oliver back in the studio. They'll break it down for you, give you all the analysis of this one as well. For CJ Nikowski and Leslie McCaslin, I'm Dave Raymond, inviting you to stay with us. Still plenty more to come right after this.